Hello, and welcome to another inspired episode of Good Fat Life. And I'm so excited to be having this conversation with our very special guest today. But before, Sharon, go ahead, Sharon. Sharon McRill is our guest from the Brigade. And before we jump into our conversation, I just have to do a shameless plug for Good Fat Life and the magazine, and ask you to go to check it out on goodfatlife.com. And the publishing fairies are hard at work, and elves are hard at work right now getting ready for our January issue, which is our best. I know it's going to be our best yet. So that said, welcome, Sharon. I'm so happy you're here, and I love the work you do and the message you share. So let's just jump right in. One of the things we were looking at how to title today was too much stuff keeping from getting what you really want. And I hear it all the time. I have too much stuff. There's stuff everywhere, right?
There is stuff everywhere, and especially as Americans, like we are very consumer driven, and so in this holiday season, people are all about, "Ooh, what can I give somebody?" And they're not necessarily thinking about the gift of time or making something. They're like, "What can I buy that I can just hand someone?"
Great. Tell us what you do first and why it's so important, and then how you got to be where you are.
So I used to work in corporate life, and I got downsized like many, many, many people. And this was a long time ago, about 25 years ago or so. And I made a list of what I was good at and a list of things that I like to do, which are actually two different lists. And I combined those lists and said, okay, what does that look like? And that's kind of how the Betty Brigade was born. The Betty Brigade is my company, and we've been in business for about 20 years. And we specialize in organizing, helping people with relocation logistics and needs. And about 6 years ago, we launched a handyman division. So we're helping people with their homes and the stuff inside their homes.
While I hear what you're saying, I know, and it's so specific in its way of what you do, but it's so much deeper than that. It's when you go in and you help people, and I know I've experienced this firsthand myself. You go in, you definitely bring so much, like you say, peace and ease to the process. And and people go, oh, I can do this myself, but they really can't. It's a skill. It's not a, we all think that we can do it, but we can't. It's a specific skill, and your team comes in and makes it all so easy. And like you like to say, I sprinkle financial fairy dust. Well, you sprinkle organizational and get clearing things out fairy dust.
Okay, I'll take
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yes.
So I mean, talk about that. So when you go, what's it typically when a client you go to a client? What's it typically look like?
Well, first, I want to talk about doing it yourself, because there will always be people that say, I can do this myself. And I just want to say that organizing and moving is not rocket science. Like, people can do it themselves, but what I want you to think about is, what is your time worth? What is your energy worth in terms of stuff? And we work with a lot of people that are in the last third of their lives.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're in the last third of your life, do you really want to be sorting out your basement? Is that your highest priority? Is it your highest priority to be organizing, old chemicals in your garage? That doesn't seem to fit with, I only have this much time left in my life, so I'm going to spend my the rest of my life sweeping out the cobwebs. Like, that doesn't always fit. And so what we try and do is we're bringing some ease around that and making it go much, much faster. So it takes the average family about, let's say, 6 to 8 weeks, if they're super motivated, to get a home ready for sale. And that's an average, let's say, 2,500 square foot home. Now, I'm not talking about a hoarder home. I'm not talking about, people who've been living there for 60 years. I'm talking about if you've been living in a house for 20 years and it's just a 2,500 square foot house. It
Okay.
takes you or your family about 6 to 8 weeks. If
And you
Betty
said
Brigade
that,
were
and yet you said that was being really for them being intentional.
intentional and
It's not.
motivated,
Okay.
working on it every day, really getting resources in line and having things lined up so that it's super efficient. So it takes Betty Brigade, that same house, about 6 to 8 days. So you can work 6 to 8 weeks, or you can have it done in 6 to 8 days. It's your choice. Is there a cost to that? Of course there is. You're paying for labor, you're paying for expertise, you're paying for people who really can do this quickly. And what that means is that you get your time back. You get to go live your life, and you don't have to sort out, the 105 screws that have been sitting in a drawer for 35 years, wondering whether or not you should keep them. Like, that is not the most important thing in your life.
Well, and that doesn't even well, and maybe it does in your time, like those things of you say you have you are so good with vendors. You vetted out all the vendors who can help support where these things need to go, where your computer needs to go, where your clothes need to go, where your, like you said, hazardous materials need to go. My husband recently took a load to the Salvation Army, and I think it took over 3 hours. Just by the time, he and this was just putting the items in the car, driving there, waiting in line because it was a long wait, and
Mm-hmm.
just that process. And so he's like, I'd rather just throw it in the garbage, and I was like, no, 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 that's not good for the environment. But um,
Mm-hmm.
just because of the time commitment. And you
Yep.
guys have taken all that. That's a skill that you've highly vetted and curated.
Absolutely. And we try and make this as efficient as possible. And so that the work continues to happen quickly and that decisions are being made so that the projects don't stall. Because one of the things we do know is when a family is working on this themselves, they get distracted. They get distracted by memorabilia or, looking at letters, looking at old photos, things like that. And the project just kind of stalls out, or motivation just goes away. And people say, "Oh, I'm tired," or "I don't want to do this," or "I'd rather go to the movies." And frankly, I'd rather go to the movies too, but this is my job. So,
When I say, oh, I think my oven needs to be cleaned, I know that I am really looking for ways to distract myself, right, from that.
right,
So,
right.
and when we started at the top of the program, we were talking about material things, and I know that you have created a really wonderful product, a service for people who
Mhm.
are looking for gifts, maybe a gift to give somebody that would help, help make their life easier. Because at the end of the day, this is really about self care.
Mhm.
A good fat life, we are all about connecting people with self care because, like you said earlier, we don't get our time back, and we need to take really good care of ourselves. And this is one of the ways to do it. So tell us about this really exciting product or service that you've got now.
So, just last week, we launched what we're calling our Handyman subscription service. So, what we have noticed over the last 6 years of doing handyman work inside people's homes is that most people call us because there is a disaster. Something is broken, something needs repair immediately, it's leaking, it's crumbling, it's whatever. Something is past its prime and it is no longer working. Uh, but we realized that if we could maintain things, if we could be in people's homes, and we set up different systems once a year. 4 times a year or once a month, for people who need a lot of projects done, it it allows them, the homeowner, to really get their home in order and keep what for most people is their most valuable asset up to par, so that when they do decide that they're going to sell, or if they're going to pass their home along to their family, that that home is well maintained, that the hot
Mm.
water heater works, that the furnace is working properly, that the gutters have been cleaned, that the chimney isn't crumbling, that all of those things that need to be done regularly that people don't necessarily think about, are being looked at by professionals.
Oh, I love it. I seriously wish that you were in Texas, because I would totally, this would make an amazing gift for my kids. They are crazy busy keeping up with their work and their kids, their little children, and just those things that happen. Um, that would just make it so easy, and it would make my heart sing to know that they just have to make a phone call, or that's already pre-scheduled and taken care of for them. Right?
Right.
It just feels like
And
such a gift of love.
it is a gift of love. And so we really think that this is something great for busy parents like your
Mm.
kids, but also people who travel a lot. Right now, we're taking care of a home where the guy spends half of his year in France and half of his year here in Michigan, where we're based. And he is delighted that we are taking care of his stuff. And every time we are interacting with him, he's like, "I'm so glad this is getting done. Thank you so much." Uh, and then, of course, aging adults. Those are probably that's probably the biggest group of people that we are helping with their homes, because many times people don't have a bonded, insured, trained, um, handy person that can come
Yeah.
into their home where they feel protected.
Right. And they know that it's going to get done right. Um,
Mhm.
that the service is going to get done right, and they can just count on it. So I love it. I love it. And we will have all of the information in the show notes on how to learn more about this. So I know, tell us about your book, The Silver Tsunami. What prompted you to write that?
So I wrote a book. It's called Downsizing the Silver Tsunami: Who to Call and Where Does the Stuff Go? And it's really a reference tool for folks who are moving, who haven't moved in decades, or for their adult children who haven't moved them in decades. And there's just so much stuff in the house. No one knows what to do with it, where it should go, and how to properly manage the stuff. So it's really just a reference tool or guidebook for somebody who's moving, and that was the impetus for it. But it has I speak regularly, 2 or 3 times a week, at different law firms or senior communities or churches, um, to all kinds of folks, and we've been featured in all kinds of media because of the book, and even on the Dr. Phil show.
Well, it is full of really helpful information and stuff that you just don't think about, that we need to. And I also know that one of the best gifts that you can give your kids, your adult children, is a home that's been properly prepared, right, for moving. So, like when my grandparents needed to move, it was a nightmare, because they
Mhm.
had been in their home for 60 years, and the um, trauma that it created, in going through that process, was affected the whole family. And so that, again, even if they're still in their home, it's a wonderful thing to do, to just get prepared.
And many families, like I hear all the time, "Oh, I'm just going to leave that for my kids." But the kids are dealing with the loss of the loved one. So there's grief going on. They're dealing with financial and legal matters, and then and possibly a funeral. And now on top of it, they have to empty a house. And if a house has not been sorted in 60 years, that's not an overnight task. It's a lot of work and it's a lot of logistics. And so it really is, you are exactly right, a huge gift to your family to do this. And I just want to say, in terms of planning, doing this ahead of time, it actually saves money than if you have to do it all at once in a hurry, in a rush. It You can make more money on the things that you don't want to keep through estate sales and consignment dealers. You can donate the items that can't be sold, and then recycle and trash the items that don't fit in those other categories. But when you're in a hurry and emptying a home, you lose a lot of value in the items because you're just trying to get rid of them.
Right. And your point about being when it happens when you've lost a loved one, you're in such a state of surrealness and grief and all of that stuff. We lost on both my side of the family and my husband's side of the family, lost some family treasures that really were priceless in that rush, because it was done quickly. And
Mm-hmm.
you can't get that back. You can't get that back. And it just really, note to self: don't ever put my family through this. Um,
Right,
for
right.
one of those reasons. So anyways, okay, well, good. So we've got, tell us one of your best stories, um, of moving stories. I know that you've got many and many. So can you just, as we just wrap up, can you just give us one of your best stories?
Well, a couple of years ago, we were clearing a 7,000 square foot hoarder home. So big, 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 big
Wow.
house. And so you would think, like in most homes, just like, just because it's 7,000 square feet, it doesn't mean that everything inside the house is valuable. So these folks had, everyday dishes. They also had good china. They had expensive things in the house. And the estate sale company said, we don't want to sell the everyday stuff. We want to get all of the everyday stuff out of the way. Well, this this house had 8 bedrooms, and this lady was a compulsive shopper, and she had 300 sets of sheets for 8 bedrooms. So it was a
Oh
lot
my
of sheets.
gosh. That's a lot of
And
sheets.
and because these folks had money, she bought good sheets. They weren't the cheap, crummy ones, and so we were able to.
Oh my
The
gosh.
estate sale company said, we don't want to sell sheets. Like, we want to sell the pianos, we want to sell the art, we want to sell the high end furniture. We're not interested in selling sheets, and so we were hired to remove all of the stuff out of the this big house that would not sell in the estate sale. And it doesn't mean that it wouldn't sell. They just didn't want it to detract from the higher end
Right.
things. And so these 300 sets of sheets went to donation centers. And the trust was then able to take that write off. And the cool part is that a bunch of donation centers got real high quality sheets that they wouldn't normally get.
Right. And that those are things they're always asking for, right? It's always high
Right.
on the list. It's bedding. Right.
Yeah.
What
Bedding,
a what
bedding
a
and mattresses.
yeah, what a great story. Well, so, what would you say? One of the things I just always like to ask, my guests is, what would you say if somebody wants to start, on this process? Where should they start? Short of just calling you right now, right this minute, right? Uh,
Well, that's my favorite way for them to start, is
yeah,
when they pick
yeah,
up the phone.
right,
However, the best place to start is identify the items that are most important to you, the things that you absolutely want to keep, and you know that you want to keep them. And so tag or identify those items. Even a post-it note is perfectly fine, and start thinking about, these are the things that I love, and I really want to make sure that they stay in the family, or they stay with me in my new home. So that's a great place to start. And even that might feel overwhelming to some people. So where I like to start is start somewhere. Pick a corner, pick a room, pick a drawer, pick a closet, pick one thing and start there. And when you start pulling things out, it gets messier. It always does. And
Mm.
because you're spreading out and you're kind of looking at things, but really put together I'm ready to let these things go and stay away from oh my gosh, I forgot I had this. I'm going to keep it forever. Because if it has been in a room, in a closet for years and you
Mm.
forgot you had it, then it's really not that important to you.
I can totally relate to that. It's like, oh, look at this.
Mhm.
Look at this teapot I've had for 10 years that I forgot I had. So, okay, great advice. Great advice. Well, thank you so much for being here with us and sharing some fun stories, and also that your service, your subscription service, I just think is such a gift. Like I said, for self care and a gift of love, peace of mind for yourself, for
Mhm.
your family. I'm sorry, just blanked because I'm thinking of,
Well,
I'm just looking around thinking all these things that I need you to come back for.
I do want to mention that as you let things go, the things that you're holding on to in your life, when you start letting go of things, it makes room for the things that you want to attract. It makes room for the things that you truly want in your life. And so I just want to remind everybody that if you have transformed at all in your life, and most humans have, you're not the same person you were that when you were a teenager. You want to attract different things. So one of the ways you can do that is by letting go of the stuff that you no longer need and let it go to someone who can use it.
Yeah, that is great advice, and I think that's a perfect way to end this podcast today. So thank you so much for being here. It's always a joy to see you and hear about what you're doing. Yeah, I just like so grateful that we had this conversation today.
Well, thank you for having me. This was fantastic.
Yeah, be well, be well. Thank you to our community. Have it go out and live your good fat life today. Bye.
So one of the things at Good Fat Life that we are just adamant about, it's a foundational pillar of our whole existence, is the importance of self-care. And in self-care, we can't do it ourselves. We need help. And having products and service providers in our realm, our wheelhouse, is critical. And Hands on Health is the kind of company that you want on your team. They provide exceptional chiropractic care and massage therapy and are so dedicated to your health and wellness and education. They are huge on education. And I have to say, there is not a time that I can walk into their office feeling good and I walk out feeling great. So check out Hands on Health.